Welcome back, my subscribers. In this video, we're gonna go through several Invicta Pro divers and whether or not they're still worth it. Let's check it out. So as you'll see here, I took the opportunity to get a couple of these on sale and I wanted to really compare them. The Invicta Pro Diver, it was one of the first watches I was introduced to when I was a kid. The only other watch I had ever really noticed was a vintage Bulova, and I ended up with that one later on, but that's not the topic for this video. For this video, the Invicta Pro Diver really caught my attention when I was really I didn't know a lot about watches, but I just knew that this style was classic and it stood out. And it's for a reason. It looks like the Rolex Submariner. So in this video, I want to go through comparison of several versions of this Pro Diver. It has evolved a bit since its first introduction, so we'll go through a couple of those things. For the most part, it hasn't changed much, but there are a couple things here and there that I want to point out. Here is the classic. Black bezel, black dial, all steel. Gives you that monochrome look. Very classy, you can dress it up or down. It just looks nice, and from afar, yeah, a lot of people are going to confuse it with a Submariner, or people will hate on it for being an homage to the Submariner. But I think it's a great watch to start with, or to collect. And as you'll see here, we have plenty of versions to collect. But is this watch for you? I don't know. You're going to have to check out the specs and how it fits on the wrist and all those type of things before you decide. But for now, we're starting with the classic black dial. What I'll say about this one is, you can't go wrong with this one. It's just the classic. It goes with everything. It's what the Submariner's known for. This is the colorway. If you're trying to stay classic and sport, and at the same time, it is pretty low-key because of it being black. Yeah, it has shine because the bracelet has some polish, but overall, it's very easy to wear. So the measurements, we're dealing with a 40mm case, 47mm lug to lug. This is not a sapphire crystal. I think it's a mineral crystal. So there's that. It's 200 meters water resistant, which is a plus. The thing that's gonna be a theme here is the thickness. It's 14mm thick, and they did switch the movement. They used to have Miyota movements. Now they have Seiko NH35s. I don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure they got thicker compared to when they first came out. And that's something that did bother me as I was testing these out in the different colorways. So you'll see some wrist shots and you probably can't really tell, like on this wrist shot, you can't really tell how thick it is. But when you see it from the side, you do notice that it does protrude a bit. It's a bit of a chunky side case. The bracelet does taper down to 18 from 20, which is good. But seeing it on the video, I do like how it looks. But for some reason, when I saw it with my own eyes on my wrist, it didn't look this way. It didn't look this good to me. There's something about the chunky case that I think you'll have to test yourself, and that will be the only precaution, the major precaution I'll give you. 14mm is a bit thick for this being an NH35. Had this been thinner, I mean the Submariner original is 12mm, so it's just so much slimmer. Okay, here is the bluesy two-tone. Now you'll notice this is a darker blue. This was a big deal to me when I saw it online. The original bluesy that they made was a lot brighter blue. And it was a blue that didn't really quite match with the dial. If you'll recall, if you've ever had that model, the first one that was blue with two-tone, almost looked kind of purplish with blue. This one, big step up in my opinion. It's a great shade of dark blue, navy blue, and it matches the dial, which is amazing. And I do like the sunray dial a lot. So I would say this was one of my top picks from the ones that we're taking a look at. I think it's just very sleek, and the two-tone comes off more subtle than you would think. Yes, it's still 14mm thick, which did bother me, but look, the cat approved it. But anyway, I feel something about this color combination with the two-tone made the 14 millimeters a bit more bearable, and it did allow me to ignore it a little bit better than the monochrome. So we'll see if that's the case with the other models, but if you're wondering, they're all the same size, and I measured all of them. I didn't show it on camera, but I did measure every single one. They are all the exact same case, strap measurements, and all that thickness. So I think this is a great option. You'll see here that dark navy blue sunburst sun ray dial is just so beautiful. I think this one is really one that stands out if you're trying to see which one you want, and you'll have to really pay attention to the model numbers to get that one. All right, this one has been around for a while. It's what they call the limited edition. I would say not so limited because I was able to get one really easy for the same price as the others, but they call it limited edition. Maybe it's limited, who knows? What's neat about this one is that it's reminiscent of the Surti dials from Rolex. Those were dials that had the champagne silverish dial, and instead of the hour markers, they had gems. Obviously, this one does not have the gemstones, but it does copy the colorway of being champagne silver inside and blue on the outside. And this blue, I'll tell you, was very difficult to judge. On camera, it looks darker than in person, and I just couldn't get it in camera the way I was seeing it. So this is one where you have to try it out yourself. In my opinion, this combination makes it look larger than it actually is. And as you know, bright colors make watches look bigger. So I think it's just this combination of silver dial with blue bezel makes it look bigger. And because it's already 14 millimeters thick, unfortunately, this was one of my quick no's. All right, this one, very similar opinion as the dark blue navy with two-tone. This one, if I could only have one, it would be this one. And I love green dials, and I know it's pretty trendy, or it was trendy to have a green dial. This is unique in my opinion. It just looks so good on the wrist. You'll see right there. This one, similar to the dark blue navy, kind of makes you forget how thick the watch is, and you do ignore some of the things that you don't like as much when it comes to the specs of this watch. This one's very wearable. They're all very wearable, but like I said, depending on the colorway, it'll feel different to you when you look at it on your wrist. Now, I will point out one of the reasons I think they're thick is because of that riha. I think that's how you say it. It's just thicker than most diver watches, and it does protrude. If you see the inner in between the dial and the bezel, that riha, it's pretty thick. And I think that's what's adding to some of that thickness and makes it look chunky visually. You'll notice in a lot of higher end watches, you'll barely notice the riha, whether it be a Speedmaster or Submariner. Okay, this one I had to try. This to me was Invicta's attempt to do a competitor with the Tudor Black Bay Gold in 18 karat. Now, obviously this is not gold, it's PVD. When you do PVD with the entire case, it is not my cup of tea. I would say, I'm not gonna hate on it because I know some people do like the blingy stuff. This to me kind of felt cheap by making it all this tone, because it's not a deep gold tone. So it's obvious that it's not gold, but it's also not a very high quality PVD. When it's in the middle of the bracelet two-tone, I think it gives it a nice shine. It's balanced. This kind of gets lost where it's almost like copper or bronze. So unless you like copper bronze tones, or like this root beerish vintage brown, that could be for you. That dial, by the way, is supposed to be like an olive green. It was very hard to capture that olive green on camera, and in person I would say it was also kind of hard. It was kind of it kind of got lost with that gold, so it became all like just the same color to me. I get what they were trying to do, but I wish they had gone darker green or just gone higher grade PVD so that the gold comes through. Here you can kind of see the olive sage-ish green there, but even then, look at the comparison with the yellow there. It's very brownish to me. So this was one of those that did not make the marks for me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. There are so many options, but these were my favorites of the Pro Diver. If I was to pick two, it would be the blue two-tone and the green two-tone. The others kind of, I don't know, they either look too big on the wrist or the color tones didn't make sense for me personally. If you don't like any colors, you can't go wrong with the classic monochrome Submariner style. But I personally liked a little bit of pop and color on the dial, so that dark navy blue and a dark green with two-tone just hit the spot. So overall, is it still worth it? I would say, I mean, the average price for these is about $80. If you're collecting them and you really like this watch, you can basically get 5 or 6 of these for the price of one watch that you might not wear as often. And these would be like accessories in a way, because you could swap them, match with what you're wearing or whatnot. You could have a rotation of Pro Divers, basically something that would be very difficult to do if they were actually Rolex Submariners, because they're so expensive. Now, if you're someone who just can't accept an homage watch, definitely not for you. You probably didn't even click on this video. But overall, great for collecting, great for variety if you don't want to spend a lot of money and still have something nice on your wrist. Yes, it's an homage watch, but it's been around for a while. It's kind of a classic now, so I think we can't hate on it too much. It's been pretty successful. They're great movements now that they're Seiko. They're good dimensions. I wish it was thinner, but that's something they're gonna have to work on by switching movements, which could increase the price, which I think people wouldn't mind. But then again, they've always been around the $80 to $100, so I doubt they would want to move away from that. Now, the other thing these watches are great, and because I mentioned this was one of the first watches that caught my eye. These are great gifts. There's a lot of people out there who wear only Apple watches or don't wear watches at all. This is a great way to introduce someone to mechanical movement and just like capture their enthusiasm and grow with their love of watchmaking. Like, this is just a stepping stone, basically. If you want to give a gift to somebody, they will eventually like venture out and try new things themselves if they do love watches, and if they don't, they'll just have that one watch that they'll just go to. So overall, I mean, you can't beat the value. Dimensions wise, I wish there were some changes there, but overall, I'd say it's a decent watch. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know below if you have any still. These are the newer versions. I know that at some point they made Swiss made ones, and I wish I had gotten one of those because there were some pretty cool. They're probably still out there on eBay, but they're just neat watches, and I think it gave me good memories of remembering how I felt when I first opened the box when I was a kid and put one of these on. Thanks for watching.